Travel to the world where elves descend, and obtain the opportunity to intercept the beard through the heavenly mechanism system. Golden chance round land shark. Zhao Yi directly offered a betrothal gift to the parents of Yuan Lusha and wanted to provide retirement for both of them. At the beginning, defeat the Heavenly King level biting land shark directly. During the college entrance examination, candidates from all sides were lost in thought as they looked at the words Heavenly King level trainer on the list. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. The Sky Machine System, Seizing Opportunities. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Sky Machine System, Seizing Opportunities. Yanghua, Liaodong Province, Lianshi. Zhao Yi, how have you considered what we discussed last time? In an old but cozy house, the boy in school uniform looked at the middle-aged man sitting across from him with a respectful expression and remained silent. It has been 3 days since Zhao Yi traveled to his own heterotopic body, and by this time, he has already gained a general understanding of the world. The original direction of this world was the same as Zhao Yi's former world, but more than a decade ago, a sudden change occurred. A creature called Warcraft appeared out of thin air, wielding powerful power. At the beginning, humans and Warcraft had a fierce conflict. But at some point, everything suddenly changed, and the governments of all sides changed the name of Warcraft to elves. Their attitude towards elves also began to change, from being defensive and hostile to being friendly and accepting. Today, elves have become a part of people's lives. But online, there are various opinions on why such changes occurred, but there is no unified explanation, and high-level officials from various countries are also hesitant about this matter. But others don't know. Zhao Yi knows. When he saw those elves, he understood what was going on. It is estimated that a divine beast has taken action, suppressing all sounds with absolute power. However, it is estimated that there was not much communication between the two sides, because during this period of time, Zhao Yi found that the research on elves in this world is still very rough, and many things have not been discovered. As for why the middle-aged man came to his house, it was because of a spot. At the end of the Warcraft war, there were various ambitious figures emerging in the midst of the situation where everything was abandoned and waiting to be established. Zhao Yi's parents died while participating in the suppression of a cult, leaving only a house and a big rock snake for Zhao Yi. This big rock snake was still one of Zhao Yi's father's holding elves. It stayed at home to protect Zhao Yi, who was only a few years old, from taking him away. It used to be like this, but I didn't expect that this time it would be a separation between heaven and man. As compensation, Yanghua took on all the resources for Zhao Yi's growth, ensuring that he would receive the best education. At the same time, when he reached adulthood, he would receive a free third-level elf from the imperial family, while also taking on all the resources for this elf before reaching the elite level. This quota can be traded. After all, not everyone wants to become a trainer. Trainers are a dangerous profession, and after trading the quota, the money obtained is enough for that person to have a worry-free life. It has been less than 20 years since the arrival of elves, far from reaching the level where Zhao Yi's previous life in anime was closely related to human life. Even due to the Warcraft war, many people were afraid of Pokémon. And that middle-aged man came to persuade Zhao Yi to trade this quota. As for who he works for, it's not very clear. Zhao Yi smiled slightly and picked up the teacup. Uncle Lu, needless to say, I plan to become a trainer. If you don't become a trainer in this world, wouldn't it be in vain? It seems that because his body has become younger, Zhao Yi's mentality has also begun to become younger. The passion that was originally numb due to his unchanging life has gradually begun to boil. Upon hearing this, the middle-aged man surnamed Lu smiled without any surprise. He stood up and extended his hand to Zhao Yi. Okay, then I understand. Zhao Yi, this is my business card. My name is Lu Jiang. Our Lu group specializes in the field equipment business, and you should be able to use it in the future. We can't buy or sell Rini. As he spoke, he waved to Zhao Yi and left the house cleanly. This made Zhao Yi, who was already prepared, endure for a while and pretended to face him in the future. He was taken aback for a moment, but then smiled lightly and waved goodbye to him. Indeed, novels are just novels that can achieve such a big business. As the words fell, a fairy ball on his waist shook twice, as if responding to his words. This world is not safe. Although the large-scale war between humans and Pokémon has been halted, the wilderness is still dangerous. After all, not all Pokémon are friendly. Trainers definitely need some protection when exploring the wilderness, and sometimes a good piece of armor represents a life. And the Lu group is doing this business. Snake Uncle, I'll take you out to eat later. Gently tapping the elf ball on his waist, he said with a smile. Inside was his father's elf, the great rock snake. He had watched Zhao Yi grow up from a young age and Zhao Yi had always called him Uncle Big Rock Snake. But usually at home, he can't release the big rock snake. After all, the 10-meter small rock python is placed in the building. This is not a joke. If it's not easy, there will be big problems. When eating, he always takes the big rock snake to the open space outside to eat. Many large Pokémon are like this. But the next moment, his expression froze. Ding, the energy absorption is completed, and the Tianji system is officially launched. The fingers caressing the Pokémon ball couldn't help but tremble twice. His mouth curled up, desperately trying to press down, but unable to do so, forming a strange expression of crying and laughing. In the end, he couldn't help but run back to his room and threw himself onto the bed, rolling wildly. The discomfort and confusion that just arrived in this world disappeared without a trace. I need to ask why, because it's open. After being excited for a while, he finally calmed down and quickly opened the system page to start studying the usage of the system. I see, what a simple and crude system. After thoroughly studying the instructions for using the system, Zhao Yi got excited and sat up directly from the bed. He is now confident that this is definitely the Lu system. The Tianji system, like its name, can capture the closest opportunity to its surroundings. It captures a golden opportunity every month, a blue or purple opportunity every week, and a white or green opportunity every day. And he who just activated the system now has a chance in white, purple, and gold. Unexpectedly, there are quite a few opportunities in Lianxia. Zhao Yi was surprised to see that all three opportunities were located in Lianxia. The Tianji system intercepts the opportunity and begins to spread around it from the center. Without Lian City, it will expand outward to Liaodong province. If Liaodong province does not have it, it will expand to Yanguo. If Yanguo does not have it, it will go to all of Asia. But this is not bad now. If it's too far away, he really doesn't have much to do. Rubbing his hands, Zhao Yi's eyes lit up and he opened a golden opportunity. Chance, gold. Tomorrow evening, Lu Hui, who had not purchased the qualifications of the imperial three families, went to the Heishan to relax. He met the quasi-god round land shark on the mountainside and enthusiastically said that he had encountered a wild round land shark. Later, he wanted to tame it, but through the power of the Waveguide, he heard the round land shark say that it was not a wild elf, but also had parents. Subsequently, Lu Hui's heart rose with compassion. He first subdued the round land shark, returned home to prepare the betrothal gift, and then went to the Great Black Mountain again to release the round land shark and let it find his parents. He then offered the betrothal gift to bring the round land shark back home. The mother of the round land shark, a heavenly king-level biting land shark, was moved by Lu Hui's sincerity and handed the round land shark over to him. She promised him that if something happened, she and the child's father could help out. Zhao Yi's mouth gradually widened as he looked at the words of chance. Surprisingly, there's such a piece of shit luck left. That's a king-level biting land shark. A quasi-god of the heavenly king level. It has only been over a decade since the arrival of elves, and according to what Zhao Yi saw online, the strongest among all countries in the world is the Heavenly King. Currently, no one has gone any further, and this has reached its peak. Indeed, some Pokémon in Pokémon may not be very strong overall, but they are particularly outstanding in some aspects, even stronger than quasi-gods, but they still have their weaknesses. But the quasi-gods are different. The high racial value of quasi-gods already indicates their overall strength, let alone the fierce biting of land sharks, which is well known among quasi-gods. In Chapter 2, just follow one person to collect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In Chapter 2, just follow one person to collect. But now this opportunity belongs to me. Although I don't know who that Lu Hui is, I can't care so much anymore. Zhao Yi had already picked up his phone and was preparing to ask the teacher for a day off. While dialing, he clicked on the purple chance. Hello, Zhao Yi, what's wrong? The phone was answered, and a deep male voice came from over there. Old class, I'm taking a day off tomorrow. These 2 days I'm going to collect elves, and I'm going to tinker with myself, trying to leave a good impression on my first elf. The reason for asking for leave is that he came just to open his mouth, and it is precisely because he is almost 18 that Lu Jiang from the Lu group came to inquire. Okay, I got it. The old class also knew about Zhao Yi's situation, and after hearing Zhao Yi's words, they agreed without much thought. Is there anything else? The deep voice over there came again. It's gone, poop. Zhao Yi opened the purple opportunity and couldn't help but laugh out loud when he saw the information above. What's wrong with you? On the phone, the surprised voice of the old class rang out. Cough, it's okay. I choked on water and hung up. After speaking, Zhao Yi hung up the phone and carefully examined the purple opportunity. Chance, purple. 3 hours later, Lu Hui wandered around in frustration because he had not purchased the qualification of the imperial family. He saw the light in the abandoned building on the east side, so he went to check and finally found a waveguide seed, successfully awakening the power of the waveguide. What? Zhao Yi's head was full of question marks. Does anyone really have such bad luck? This is his first reaction. After all, it is the power of the waveguide, and trainers with special abilities are rare in the entire Aqua Blue Star. No, that's right. What's going on when I have to do it all by myself? So Lu Hui is crying. This is his second reaction, although he said so, the smile at the corner of his mouth couldn't be suppressed. Although I don't know that Lu Hui, I've done a lot of things. Even someone who doesn't have much morality can't bear it in his heart. He clicked on the white chance again and realized that this time it was not the guy named Lu Hui who was being targeted. He breathed a sigh of relief. This time, the chance was a person named Wang Shang who was intercepting the beard. He found a new Pokémon ball at the intersection not far from here. Coincidentally on the way, Zhao Yi put on his clothes and went out with the elf ball of the big rock snake. On the roadside not far from Zhao Yi's house, inside a car. Uncle, did he agree? The young man, who looked not much different from Zhao Yi and had a slightly gloomy expression, couldn't help but ask as he watched Lu Jiang get on the car. No, he doesn't sell. Lu Jiang looked at his own nephew in front of him and shook his head helplessly. Upon hearing these words, Lu Hui reluctantly sat back. Indeed, there are no fools in this world. The news about the big family is much more insightful than that of ordinary people. They have long heard rumors that the status of future trainers will continue to rise. That's why they are so eager and roaring to purchase the qualifications of the Imperial Sanjia. The Yuzhen family, which has a fast formation, strong strength, closeness to people, and a smooth growth curve, is a perfect Pokémon for novice trainers. However, the Yuzhen family is firmly controlled by the authorities of major countries, and small families like the Lu family cannot see any of it. It's just a matter of luck to buy some from official lineages who don't want to be trainers. After all, Fools are in the minority. Uncle, do you think that's Zhao Yi? Suddenly, Lu Hui seemed to have noticed something and pointed to the entrance of the community behind him, asking. Let me see, it's really him. Lu Jiang turned his head and took a closer look, then lowered the car window and gave a friendly smile to Zhao Yi outside. Zhao Yi, where are you going? Do you need me to give you a ride? He is not planning to sell to the imperial family, but after having the imperial family, he will definitely grow up in the future. At the very least, he will be an elite-level trainer, and of course, he needs to make good friends with such people. It's nothing, I'm going to find an open space to train the elves. Outside, Zhao Yi, who was walking to the entrance of the community, was stunned when he heard the sound. He turned around and saw Lu Jiang. He also smiled at Lu Jiang and reached out to pat the elf ball on his waist. Okay, then I'll leave first. Seeing this, Lu Jiang didn't say much and drove away directly. After seeing Lu Jiang leave, Zhao Yi immediately followed the location marked on the opportunity and quickened his pace a bit. Although he doesn't know who Lu Hui is, he can probably guess that he is from the Lu group. I first arrived at the place where the white chance was located, carefully searched the roadside, and finally successfully found the elf ball under the green grass on the roadside. 2,000 yuan each Pokémon ball, how could you just get it? Picking up this new Poké ball, Zhao Yi's face showed a surprised smile. After all, everything about elves in this world has just started, far from reaching the level in previous games, and the manufacturing process of elf balls is naturally more complicated, so the price is also 10 times higher than in games. Zhao Yi, who received the Pokémon ball, no longer had any doubts about the system and immediately set off for the abandoned building. At the abandoned building, there was no one here, and he didn't see the trace of Lu Hui either. Seeing this, he finally breathed a sigh of relief and released a large rock snake on the vacant land of the abandoned building. The Yen snake, a large Pokémon, definitely cannot be trained in the bustling city, so it is only reasonable for him to come to the abandoned building for training. Nah. A white light popped out of the Poké ball, expanding and forming a huge rock python. The big rock snake lowered its head gently with a gentle gaze and lightly rubbed Zhao Yi with the corner of its forehead. Meanwhile, information about the great rock snake also appeared in Zhao Huai's eyes. Big rock snake, properties. Ground, rock, level. 34, elite, elf level division. 1.10 novice level, 11.20 excellent level, 21.30 senior level, 31.40 elite level, 41.50 hall level, 51.60 quasi-heavenly king, 61.70 heavenly king, 71.80 champion, 81.90 master, 91.100 leader. Qualification. Blue, qualifications are divided by the total number of individual values, from high to low. Gold, 180.186, orange, 150.179, purple, 110.149, blue, 80.109, green, 50.79, white, 20.49, and gray, 6.19. Elves are magical species, and their qualifications can only determine the lower limit of elves, but they cannot determine the upper limit of elves. Feature. Broken armor, if damaged by physical moves, defense will decrease and speed gray will increase significantly. The rock snake Pokémon burrows into the ground with astonishing power to search for food, and the cave formed after it passes through will be used as its residence by the mole gate. Skills. Tie, impact, falling stone, harden, shot down, rock polishing, dragon breath, spell, rock collapse, harsh sound, quicksand hell, invisible rock, double blade hammer, earthquake. All the attributes of the great rock snake appeared clearly in front of Zhao Yi, making his eyes sparkle. This is a hidden feature of the system, which can clearly see the information of Pokémon, which is much stronger than the Pokémon guidebook released by Yenguo. Chapter 3. The Force of Waveguides. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The force of waveguides, but on the other hand, I didn't expect Snake Uncle you to be so strong. Not only did you inherit the skill of double blade hammer, but you also learned earthquake. Gently caressing the unicorn of the great rock snake, Zhao Yi said with some surprise. Neither of these skills can be learned by the great rock snake by leveling up. Earthquakes need to be learned from other Pokémon, while the double blade hammer requires the great rock snake's father to be a tree talent monster or a shield sword monster to inherit. And it's also a blue qualification. Is this the foundation of the first batch of trainers after World of Warcraft? That's right, Zhao Yi's parents were the first trainers in the world. In the beginning, everything good was used to cultivate that generation, and the highly qualified Pokémon was one of them. Pokémon with blue qualifications are not common, at least Zhao Yi didn't hear of anyone in the school who has a blue qualification. Nah, the big rock snake looked at Zhao Yi and let out a deep cry from its mouth. Zhao Yi, who grew up with the big rock snake since childhood, immediately understood that the big rock snake was saying it was hungry. Let's have some tree fruit and a mat first. After we go back, I'll go get you an iron block. Speaking, Zhao Yi took out several phoenix pear fruits from his backpack and threw them into the mouth of the big rock snake. This pineapple-like fruit is brought to Aquarius with Pokémon, and can be eaten by both Pokémon and humans. Eating it can make them stronger. But this is not something that big rock snakes love to eat. Big rock snakes eat stones mainly to extract minerals from them. People in this world didn't understand it, and Zhao Yi didn't understand either, so he followed the crowd and gave big rock snakes minerals. After all, people in this world have not yet discovered the existence of the great steel snake, and in their eyes, the great rock snake has already come to an end and cannot continue to evolve. But after he crossed over, he first tried to exchange the ore for iron blocks. After confirming that the great rock snake could digest steel, he immediately told the official to exchange the ore for iron. The official took on all the resources for his growth, and after confirming that the iron block was meant for the big rock snake to eat, they didn't say much and agreed directly. Nah, the great rock snake reluctantly agreed and frowned, swallowing the fruit in its mouth. At this moment, Zhao Yi suddenly heard the sound of footsteps. Turning his head, he saw Lu Jiang with a shocked expression on his face, followed by a gloomy young man. If Zhao Yi had guessed correctly, it would have been Lu Hui, who had been unlucky every day. Uncle Lu, why are you here? Zhao Yi first intervened and asked in confusion. Oh, my nephew is not feeling well. I led him out for a walk. Zhao Yi, this is your elf. Lu Jiang pointed to the big rock snake and asked in astonishment, still holding a picture book in his hand. The information displayed above is exactly the information of the big rock snake, but it is much different from what Zhao Yi saw. Only the general information and level can be seen, and as for more detailed information such as qualifications, characteristics, skills, etc., it is completely invisible. Oh, you're talking about Snake Uncle. Snake Uncle is my father's elf and has watched me grow up since I was young. Zhao Yi caressed the body of the great rock snake, with a smile on his face. Well, since Zhao Yi is training elves here, we won't disturb each other anymore. Goodbye. Waving his hand to Zhao Yi, Lu Jiang left with a smile. Seeing this, Zhao Yi finally breathed a sigh of relief. There is not much time left until the system displays it. If they don't leave yet, Zhao Yi can only take the initiative to be this villain and drive people away. After all, it makes sense that trainers don't like others watching things like training Pokémon, but it's best not to be a villain. Fortunately, Lu Jiang was very clever. After discovering that Zhao Yi was training elves here, he immediately left with Lu Hui. Not long after the two of them left, Zhao Yi immediately saw a burst of light coming from the abandoned building. His eyes lit up and he rushed in immediately. The door was locked, so he simply stood on the head of the big rock snake and let it stick its head into the window on the second floor and jump in directly. Walking to the place where the light came from, Zhao Yi immediately saw that thing, which was a cluster of light emitting white light. Is this Waveguide seed? Walking to the edge of the light cluster, he carefully touched it. The light ball penetrated directly into Zhao Yi's body. In an instant, Zhao Yi felt like his brain had been hit by a hammer, and a buzzing sound could be heard in his ears. After a while, he finally regained his senses and looked at the world as if everything had changed. Looking at mountains is not mountains, looking at water is not water, everything seems to have come to life and can communicate. Waveguide. All things in the world have waveguides. In other words, those who can use waveguides have the possibility of communicating with all things in the world. They open their palms and gather the waveguides in their palms, while a blue light cluster gathers in their hands. Waveguide missile. Throwing the waveguide bomb, the wall was directly shattered into a hole that could accommodate one person to drill through. A smile appeared on Zhao Yi's face. He tried to hold it back a few times, but couldn't hold it back. Instead, he covered his face and burst into laughter. What's going on? I heard something moving here. Outside, the angry roar of the great rock snake reached Zhao Yi's ears, but it became a language he could understand. Snake uncle, it's okay, I did it. I awakened the power of the waveguide. Zhao Yi walked slowly to the window and looked at the huge head of the big rock snake outside, gently caressing its head. Snake uncle, our family is up now. He said softly. The yen snake paused for a moment and looked at Zhao Yi quietly, with a smile on his face. It certainly understands what a waveguide is, and that's why it's happy for Zhao Yi. Let's go home. Jump directly out of the window and land safely. Bird is a combat superpower that strengthens his physical fitness, gradually moving towards the physique of a super-real newcomer. Although it may not necessarily reach the barrier of a super-real newcomer shattering his dreams with just one punch, it is definitely much stronger than an ordinary person. He took the big rock snake back and walked outside for a moment, but didn't immediately return home. Instead, he took a taxi and headed towards the elf supermarket. Tomorrow I'm going to give myself the dowry to my unmasked initial Pokémon round land shark, and today I need to prepare. As the name suggests, the elf supermarket sells things related to elves. The ones he bought this time were all ground and dragon-type elf biscuits. This thing is an elf food developed independently in this world. Its function is to resist hunger, just like compressed biscuits, but the downside is that eating too much makes it feel dull. As for things like puffs, energy cubes, and elf curry, there is no such thing here, which made Zhao Yi roast for a long time. If he can find a way to make energy cubes in the future, he will definitely promote these expensive and tasteless inferior elf food. After spending all the money he had saved over the past decade, he finally returned home with big and small bags. Chapter 4 Conquers the Round Land Shark. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finally, it's here. Carrying large and small bags, Zhao Yi got off the car and looked at the mountains in front of him, feeling relieved. Before the arrival of the elves, the Great Black Mountain was a famous attraction in Lianxia, with countless people coming to climb the mountain every year. But after the arrival of the elves, due to the presence of wild elves, this place gradually became abandoned. The original asphalt road surface had already been cracked by the plants below, breaking into pieces. The small house originally used for collecting tickets had also been abandoned by now, and from time to time, one or two little Lottas could be seen rushing by. Hey buddy, what are you doing? What is this? The taxi driver helped take out a bunch of gifts from the trunk and asked in confusion. Over the years, he has brought many trainers to the Heishan to tame Pokémon, but someone like Zhao Yi is still the only one. Come and conquer Pokémon. Zhao Yi smiled slightly and released the great rock snake from the Pokémon ball. The huge rock python stretched its body on the open ground and let out a joyful roar. You can't act so recklessly in the bustling city. You have to stay in the Pokémon ball every day, which is very uncomfortable for it. Okay, I'll take all these things down for you. Let's go. The driver is also knowledgeable and doesn't have such a big fear of Pokémon. After putting all the big and small bags on the ground, he drove away. Zhao Yi hung all the gifts on the unicorn of the big rock snake, and then stood on its head to let the big rock snake walk towards the location marked by chance. The white chance for today is the scraping and scraping music for 30,000 yuan. He had already received it before going out, and his wallet, which had been deflated due to buying these things, suddenly swelled up again. Here we are, that's it. The elite level strength of the great rock snake can also be considered a skilled player here, so Zhao Yi did not encounter any danger along the way. After all, not many elves would come to provoke a great rock snake. Although the overall race value of the great rock snake is very low, its defense is too outstanding, reaching 160 points. With such an unbreakable and uncooked copper pea, who would provoke it if it had nothing to do? Stopping the great rock snake, Zhao Yi stood above it and looked around. At this moment, he did not see any trace of the round land shark, but it was normal. The chance mentioned it was at night, and it is understandable that he did not encounter it now. Although he said so, his heart couldn't help but beat. After all, that was the child who subdued her under the watchful eye of a heavenly king biting land shark. Just as he was lost in thought, the eyes of the big rock snake suddenly changed, and it keenly sensed an explosion coming from the nearby mountains and forests. Zhao Yi, there's movement over there. The waveguide transformed the roar of the rock snake into language that Zhao Yi could understand. Let's take a look. Zhao Yi's eyes flickered twice and he led the big rock snake towards the place where the explosion came from. Quickly, the two arrived at a clearing where two elves were fighting. One side is a ground squirrel, with a level of 19 and a green qualification. On the other hand, there is the round land shark that Zhao Yi has been longing for, level 11, with a golden qualification. Round land shark, attribute. Ground, dragon, feature. Sand hidden, dodge rate increases during sandstorms, qualification. Gold, level 11, Lu shark Pokémon, using the small horizontal cave in the cave as a residence. If there is prey approaching, they will quickly pounce and catch it. Skills. Impact, drifting sand abyss, splashing sand, sacrifice impact. Zhao Yi's breathing became rapid, his gaze fixed on the round land shark. This round land shark not only had golden qualifications, but also inherited the general technique of sacrificing oneself to impact. Although the level of the ground squirrel is higher than that of the round land shark, the reality is that the round land shark is suppressing the ground squirrel and fighting. Quickly, under the last sacrificial impact, the mole's eyes turned into circular eyes and lost its combat ability. The scarred round land shark, on the other hand, pinched its waist with two short hands, showing a proud expression. Upon seeing this, Zhao Yi released the waveguide and carefully confirmed several times that the Heavenly King level biting land shark was not here before standing up and walking out. His movements made the round land shark, who was about to enjoy its prey, tighten all over. It turned its head vigilantly and stared at Zhao Yi with a threatening snort in its mouth. I didn't expect to encounter wild round land sharks here, it's really lucky. Zhao Yi smiled lightly, and by chance, he already had a strategy. This time, he simply copied it. As expected, upon hearing these words, the round land shark immediately became excited. Roar! Roar! It occupies almost half the size of its body and its mouth keeps opening and closing, as if cursing is quite dirty. Zhao Yi easily understood the meaning of using a waveguide. What wild Pokémon! I have parents. You're such a bad guy. As he spoke, the round land shark lowered its head and shone with a white light representing the general lineage. The gesture of sacrificing oneself to hit, it wants to give Zhao Yi, this guy who speaks rudely, a profound lesson. Snake uncle, defeat this little guy first. Seeing this scene, Zhao Yi naturally hid behind the big rock snake. Although he can still use waveguide shells now and his physical fitness has improved significantly, he still dares not support a dragon, even a young one. Guho. The eyes of the great rock snake froze, and its massive body quickly darted out, wrapping around the small body of the round land shark and locking it tightly like a python. Tie it up. The biggest use of this general skill with a power of only 15 points is to prevent the round land shark from escaping. Controlling the round land shark, the head of the large rock snake extended to look at the little one, and the blazing dragon breath spewed out from its mouth, pouring onto the round land shark. After persisting for a while, the round land shark's eyes turned into circular eyes, losing its combat ability. The level difference is too great, coupled with the fact that the species value of the round land shark is much lower than that of the great rock snake, which creates a flash sale situation. The strength of quasi-gods lies in the fact that after the final evolution, quasi-gods that have not evolved into their final form are just like that. Seeing that the round land shark had lost its combat ability, Zhao Yi took a deep breath and quickly brought the Pokémon ball he had picked up yesterday, gently tapping it onto the round land shark's head. The circular body of the round land shark transformed into a white light and was collected into the elf ball. At this point, it had no sense of resistance at all. The Pokémon ball shook twice and successfully subdued it. Is this done? Zhao Yi picked up the elf ball of the round land shark, his eyes a bit dazed. I don't know how many people's long-awaited quasi-gods have been successfully subdued by him like this. At the next moment, he released the round land shark and carefully applied the wound medicine he carried onto its body. Fortunately, the characteristic of the round land shark is not rough skin, otherwise he would have suffered a lot. This golden opportunity is not over yet, what comes next is big head. As long as he completes the next steps, he can be unobstructed, otherwise, he may not be able to keep this round land shark. Chapter 5. Madam, I want to give you retirement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With the recovery of the wound medicine, the round land shark quickly regained consciousness. It looked at Zhao Yi, who was applying medicine to it, and realized that it had been tamed. It snorted and turned its head away. Alright, stop getting angry and have some fruit. Zhao Yi smiled and touched the head of the round land shark, handing over the orange fruit, which was also a tree fruit brought by the elf after its arrival. Its function was different from that of the phoenix pear fruit, which was used to recover from injuries. The affinity brought by the waveguide activated, making the round land shark subconsciously feel that Zhao Yishuan had taken a lot of notice. Humph, let's go. Taking the orange fruit, the round land shark threw it directly into its mouth, and the sweet juice flowed into its throat, making it squint comfortably. After finishing the fruit, Yuan Lusha stood up and angrily told Zhao Yi. What are you going for? Zhao Yi was stunned and quickly pressed down on the big head of the round land shark. Aren't you all human trainers like this? From then on, I've been separated from my parents. Zhao Yi covered his heart, it was his conscience, which was in pain. You don't have to say that I seem like a human trafficker. I definitely want to tell your family first. Let's go, I happen to bring a gift to give your parents a dowry. Speaking, Zhao Yi took a bag of raw beef from the unicorn of the big rock snake. Dragons must be meat eaters. The battle just now didn't even make these things shake. Ah! The round land shark widened its eyes, with big doubts flickering in its small eyes, which was different from the humans it had heard of before. It simply didn't even notice anything wrong, such as why Zhao Yi would carry these things. Okay. Okay. The foolish round land shark agreed in a daze and led Zhao Yi towards his home. After applying some medicine to the unlucky mole, he immediately followed suit. Snake uncle, I'm a bit nervous. Following behind the round land shark, Zhao Yi whispered to the big rock snake. After all, that is a fierce biting land shark of the Heavenly King level. There are many videos online about the Heavenly King level Pokémon taking action, among which Zhao Yi's most memorable one is a Heavenly King level Nido King of the Flame Kingdom ground-type Heavenly King. The King of Nido's sudden freezing light pierced through a mountain. "It's okay, I'm also nervous." The Yen snake glanced at Zhao Yi and answered in a low voice. In the midst of Zhao Yi and the anxious mood of the big rock snake, Yuan Lusha led Zhao Yi to a mountain cave with ease and familiarity. "Mom. I was tamed by the trainer. I'm going on a trip with him from now on." Standing outside the cave, the round land shark opened its big mouth and almost slowed down the hearts of the big rock snake and Zhao Yi. "Who?" The intense wind blew Zhao Yi's face like waves, and when he opened his eyes again, he could see the scenery in front of him clearly. A giant beast standing 2 meters tall, with a head like a hammerhead shark, protected the round land shark from behind and stared at itself with a cruel gleam in its eyes. Strong bite of land shark, attribute. Dragon, ground, level. 70, Heavenly King, qualification. Gold, feature. Rough skin, when attacked, use rough skin to injure and touch one's opponent. Sonic Pokémon, the evolved version of the sharp-toothed land shark. If its body is folded and its wings are extended, it is like a jet plane that can fly at the speed of sound. Skills. Sand splashing, collision, dragon breath, drifting sand abyss, heavy treading, biting, splitting, dragon claw, digging, sandstorm, crash, dragon diving, roaming, biting. Gudong. Zhao Yi swallowed his saliva and was almost stunned by the luxurious attributes of this fierce biting land shark. She could basically learn all the skills that this race of fierce biting land sharks could learn, and her moves had almost reached the extreme. Her level had also reached the peak of the Heavenly King, and she was only 1 step away from the championship. "Madam, hello. I am the person who subdued the round land shark." Taking a deep breath, Zhao Yi spoke in the eyes of the Yen snake, who looked like a warrior. "Oh. Human, after subduing my child, he didn't even want to run and instead came to me. Can I think you're provoking me?" At the moment of seeing Zhao Yi, biting Lu shark fiercely noticed the smell of the waveguide on Zhao Yi's body, so she spoke directly, knowing that Zhao Yi could understand. The call of the fierce biting land shark is much more powerful than that of the round land shark, and after being transformed into a language that Zhao Yi can understand by the waveguide, there is a lingering charm of a mature woman. If he closed his eyes, Zhao Yi would never have thought that the lady in front of him would be a fierce biting land shark that could easily change the terrain. "No, madam, this is not to provoke you, but for the sake of the round land shark. The round land shark is not naturally raised, and it also has parents. I can't bear to let it leave without saying goodbye, so I brought it to see you. Please see, this is my dowry to prove my sincerity." Zhao Yi breathed a sigh of relief. As long as the other party is willing to communicate, everything has a chance. As expected, after hearing his words, Li Bite Lu Shark's eyes widened, and she was also surprised by Zhao Yi's actions, as well as his attitude towards her. Zhao Yi called her Madame Alas. This attitude, whether in this world or in the world of Pokémon, she had never experienced it before. It must be said that it was quite novel, which also made her gaze at Zhao Yi much softer. "Madam, although I can't compensate you for all these years of teaching the round land shark, these are my thoughts. Please accept them." Zhao Yi took advantage of the hot iron and quickly presented the prepared dowry. The vast majority of them are all kinds of meat, a small portion of tree fruits, and those elf cookies that are too much to live with. Seeing this, the fierce bite into the land shark's eyes softened a bit. These foods don't seem like much to her. After all, with her strength, she doesn't lack food at all. What she lacks is an attitude. She has never heard of such a thing before or now, it's a face to speak out about. She bites the land shark fiercely and is also a facial dragon. At this moment, even the small round land shark had a different feeling, subconsciously raising its small chest and looking at Zhao Yi with a lot of joy. This really makes her face grow in front of her mother. "Well, human, I really like your attitude. You can take my child with you. Also, if you encounter something you cannot solve, you can come to me and I will help you once. It's done. Zhao Yi's face was ecstatic, and now he had achieved the original ending of Lu Hui in the Golden Opportunity. However, he felt that this should not be the best ending. He watched fiercely biting the land shark and took a deep breath. At this moment, he wanted to make a decision that went against his ancestors. Madam, it's a bit inconvenient to be in the wilderness. If you don't mind, I want to take care of you. As soon as these words were spoken, the look of the big rock snake behind him towards Zhao Yi became particularly terrifying. How could it not have noticed before that this kid's courage was so great? The air seemed to freeze for a moment, and the fierce bite of Lu Shark's gaze towards Zhao Yi became playful. Oh. Well, I think you should ask my husband first. It seems that due to Zhao Yi's nickname, Lie Bite Lu Shark has now put on airs. Husband. By the way, the genetic skill of the round land shark is to sacrifice oneself for heavy equipment. Who is the elf who can make the round land shark inherit this skill? At this moment, Zhao Yi's brain was spinning rapidly, and formulas from his previous life playing games flashed through his mind. I remember, it's the ice rock monster. As well as the storm-flying dragon and Duolong Baruto. Zhao Yi was suddenly startled and his eyes widened wide. Chapter 6. I became the king of heaven, ascending to the sky with one step. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Roar, a low growl mixed with immaturity echoed behind Zhao Yi. Waveguide easily translated this roar into language that Zhao Yi could understand. Interesting little guy. Interesting, interesting. Zhao Yi turned around and indeed saw a creature over 3 meters tall, with a dark blue body and an arrow-like head. 2 holes appeared at both ends of the arrow, revealing the figures of 2 multi-dragon Messia. Duolong Baruto. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the strongest quasi-divine race. Duolong Baruto, attribute. Dragon, ghost, level 70, Heavenly King, qualification. Gold, feature. Constant cleanliness body, not reduced in ability due to opponent's moves or characteristics. Invisible Pokémon, an evolutionary form of Doraemon, allows Doraemon to live in a hole in his corner. After the battle begins, he will use the sound of sound to launch Doraemon out. Skills. Bite, flash of electric light, startling, entangled, locked, malicious pursuit, misfortune never dies alone, moving at high speed, double strike, rapid turn back, dragon dance, divine spirit raid, crash, dragon dive, sacrifice impact, treasure, assault, dragon arrow. At the same level as the fierce biting land shark, it has almost mastered all the skills that its own race can learn, and has almost reached the head in terms of skills. Dad. At the moment of seeing Duolong Baruto, the round land shark's eyes lit up and he stepped out of his short legs and ran to Duolong Baruto's side, using his big head to vigorously rub against his body. It dare not use this method to rub against its mother. After all, the characteristic of biting land sharks is rough skin, which can be very painful if rubbed. Ah, here we are. Duolong Baruto is famous for his love for his cubs. When he saw the round land shark running over, his voice grew tired and he laughed and used his big tail to catch it. Zhao Yi didn't speak, and only then did he ask after Duolong Baruto lowered the round land shark from his body. Sir, madam, how was my proposal just now? Please rest assured that my place is definitely much more comfortable than living in the wilderness. Zhao Yisin swore confidently. Although he only has the 30,000 yuan from the morning scraping music in his hands now, and can't even buy much elf food, as long as he can bring these 2 great gods back, the money will come like flowing water. After speaking, Zhao Yi looked closely at Duolong Baruto, trying his best to release his kindness with a waveguide. But Duolong Baruto did not immediately answer his words. Instead, he smiled and looked at the round land shark, who was constantly trying to climb his tail, carefully protecting it from falling. After a while, he slowly spoke up. If we go with you. It's not impossible either. Zhao Yi's eyes widened in surprise. Biting Mrs. Lu Shark's brow fiercely, she frowned and stared closely at Duolong Baruto, waiting for him to give her a reason. Don't look at me like that. Don't worry about our child going out with this kid. I'm not at ease yet. What if we encounter danger, and what if we are wronged? Duolong Baruto doted on the round land shark that was competing with his tail, and said angrily to the fiercely biting land shark. As soon as these words were spoken, Zhao Yi understood why biting the land shark so easily made him take away the round land shark. As expected, after hearing these words, Lai Bite Lu Shark immediately exhaled a heavy breath of steam. It's because of your indulgence that I thought of sending the child out. You've been so used to the child, how could she grow up? The fierce biting land shark glanced at the round land shark playing with Duolong Baruto's tail, and directly used the shark's tail to capture the round land shark in Zhao Yi's arms. Then, he lowered his voice and spoke to Duolong Baruto. And Zhao Yi immediately covered the round land shark's ears, preventing the children from listening to these. Don't talk about me, you and I are equally equal, otherwise how could an outsider take our child away? If you want to say anything else about Duolong Baruto, he can tolerate it, but when it comes to taking care of children, he can't bear it. Who among the elves doesn't know that Duolong Baruto is one of the Pokémon who knows how to take care of children the most? Moreover, in terms of spoiling children, biting the land shark fiercely is not much better than him. At this moment, the biting Lu shark's words were blocked. She realized that this was not going to work, so she thought about asking Zhao Yi to take her child away and let the child go out to practice more. But upon careful consideration, she really couldn't bear to part ways with her child. She couldn't help but turn her head to look at Zhao Yi, but was shocked to find that at some point, Zhao Yi had already taken his hand away from the ear of the round land shark, who was looking at her tearfully. You. Biting Lu Shark fiercely, his eyes widened and he stared fiercely at Zhao Yi. Mom, don't you want me anymore? But at the next moment, with just one sentence from the round land shark, the fierce biting land shark broke through the defense and hurriedly took the round land shark over, constantly comforting it. Pretty Zhao Yi's heart blossomed with joy, and the beautiful assist from the round land shark. As expected, the elves are also intelligent creatures, and since they are intelligent creatures, they will be bound by emotions. After a while, fiercely biting the land shark, he finally turned cold and walked over holding the round land shark. Human, you won. Let's go with you, husband and wife. She originally intended to keep the round land shark and send Zhao Yi away with some years of treasure. But the round land shark refused to say anything, and she also heard the conversation between Lai Bite Land Shark and Duolong Baruto, understanding that Lai Bite Land Shark now does not believe that she can become stronger. As a proud dragon, there was also a surge of anger in her heart. She must become stronger, but she couldn't bear to be separated from her parents, so Zhao Yi now appears very important. She has heard other Pokémon say more than once that human trainers can quickly make Pokémon stronger, which is definitely an opportunity. So she convinced her parents to take Zhao Yi with her, and coincidentally, Zhao Yi also had this idea. Madam, sir, please rest assured that you will never regret it. Zhao Yiqiang suppressed his smile and handed out 2 Pokémon balls. Duolong Baruto and Lai Bite Lu Shark glanced at Zhao Yi, reached out and lightly tapped the Pokéball. Suddenly, 2 Heavenly King-level dragons transformed into white light and were received into the Pokéball. Because it was the other party who took the initiative, this time it simply showed a successful surrender without even shaking. Looking at the 2 elf balls that fell to the ground, Zhao Yi's eyes were a bit dazed, and he turned to look at the big rock snake. Snake uncle, I have become the king of heaven. The yen snake was already stunned by Zhao Yi's lewd behavior at this moment, with his mouth wide open. Gao Qiqiang's identity had already completed level 3 jumps in just 1 year, which was already impressive. Zhao Yi's identity had completed countless levels of jumps in 1 day, and he had taken it to the sky. Chapter 7. The Shock of the Heavenly King Biting the Land Shark. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You really did it. The big rock snake spoke incoherently, but it never expected that Zhao Yi would really succeed and soar to the sky with one step. This is a real leap to the sky. Let's go back to the city. Release Duolong Baruto and Lai Bite Land Shark, and do not return to your hometown for wealth and prosperity. If there is a night trip in a luxurious robe. Furthermore, the 3 dragons cannot be raised with his current money, so it is not the time to pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger. He needs to showcase his abilities as much as possible in order to have more resources. Madam, take me flying in this direction. Retrieving the great rock snake from the Pokémon ball, Zhao Yi pointed in the direction of Lianshi and said to the fierce biting land shark. Got it. Lai Bite Lu Shark glanced in the direction he pointed, nodded slightly, gathered his body, stretched his wings, and immediately became like an airplane. The dragon claw, which grew shark fins, grabbed Zhao Yi's clothes and flew directly into the sky with him. Although it was flying at the speed of sound, Zhao Yi did not notice the fierce wind. A earthy yellow shield wrapped around him, protecting his body. Along the way, the fierce biting land shark did not hide its momentum at all. The terrifying aura of the Heavenly King, mixed with the power of the top predator of the Dragon series, swept across the entire Great Black Mountain, causing the wild animals and Pokémon below to tremble. At this moment, all the elite level and above elves and trainers in Lian City raised their heads and looked at the horizon in shock. Heavenly King. Still a top-level Heavenly King. Someone couldn't help but speak up and confidently said. Not only that, but that kind of ferocious wildness is definitely not a trained elf, it's a top wild king. Someone next to me added a sentence, but after speaking, everyone's faces turned white. That's the king. A king without convergence can be seen as a mobile and self-aware disaster. Hurry up to the city wall and notify the province. The alarm sounded, summoning all elite level and above trainers to gather at the city wall. There is no Heavenly King in Lian City, and the highest level trainer is only the director of the Elf Bureau. He is a quasi-Heavenly King level trainer and only has a Heavenly King sitting in Liaodong province. The time for the arrival of elves to this day is too short, and the number of Heavenly Kings is not very large for the Flame Kingdom. Now, it is not possible for each province to gather one, and most of them are close to the border in Kyoto. On the city wall, Yan Hu, the director of the Lotus City Elf Bureau, propped his hands on the wall, followed by his 6 quasi-heavenly level handheld elves, staring solemnly in the direction of the Great Black Mountain. The city wall was dismantled long ago for development, but it was rebuilt after the arrival of elves. Can you perceive what Pokémon it is? Yan Hu looked at the giant swamp monster beside him and asked in a low voice. He specializes in water systems, and all 6 Pokémon behind him are of water systems. The giant swamp monster frowned and shook its head slowly. But soon, his question was answered. Accompanied by a violent sonic boom, a purple-black plane flew over the sky and straight towards the city wall. After seeing that figure, all the trainers present squinted their pupils and couldn't help but let out a moan. Bite the land shark fiercely. I don't know the one next to me. Someone gave a bitter smile and said the name. No, there's still someone in the hand of that fiercely biting land shark. A sharp-eyed person had already noticed the clues and shouted loudly. Someone. A trainer. As soon as these words were spoken, these trainers, who had already been somewhat discouraged, immediately regained their spirits and looked intently towards the direction of the fierce biting land shark. Madam, just over the city wall, land. In the sky, seeing the crowd on the city wall, Zhao Yi chuckled and shouted at the fierce biting land shark. Got it. The fierce bite of the land shark has not calmed down yet, and after a cold sound, it dives towards the position of the city wall. Bang! With a loud bang, the body of the land shark was fiercely bitten and hit the city wall. The intense impact made several unlucky trainers unable to stand firm and fell directly to the ground. But even so, no one spoke and their eyes were still fixed on the location where the thick smoke came from. Quickly, the thick smoke dissipated, and the fierce biting blue shark and a young man with a youthful but disheveled face stood on the ruins of the city wall. This combination stunned everyone present for a moment. It was clearly not compatible. It was a Heavenly King level shark bite land shark, and the growth cycle of dragon-type elves was already long, let alone quasi-gods. Although the growth cycle of shark bite land shark is considered fast in quasi-gods, it is also quasi-gods. It takes 48 levels for advanced Taoist schools to evolve into their final form. If the young man in front of me were a trainer who fiercely bit the land shark, it would be impossible to train Pokémon from the mother's womb. Cough. It's choking me to death. At this moment, Zhao Yi coughed a few times and spat out the dust in his mouth. In the crowd, a middle-aged man with a simple and honest appearance showed a hint of hesitation on his face when he saw Zhao Yi's appearance, and upon hearing this voice, the hesitation immediately turned into shock. Zhao Yi. He couldn't help but ask. When he saw Zhao Yi before, he couldn't believe it and thought it looked a bit similar. But after hearing Zhao Yi's voice, the original self-hypnosis disappeared. Upon hearing the sound, Zhao Yi looked up and upon seeing the middle-aged man, an excited smile appeared on his face. Uncle Zhang, I have become the king. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present breathed a sigh of relief, their eyes fixed on the faces of Zhao Yi, Lu Shark, and Uncle Zhang. Uncle Zhang's original name was Zhang Sui, who was a descendant of Zhao Yi's father in the past. Now he works in the Elf Bureau, and Zhao Yi receives monthly subsidies from him. Don't talk here. I'll ask De to follow Lao Zhang and call you Xiaoyi. Xiaoyi, come on, let's go back and talk. This is not the place to talk. Yan Hu's thoughts flowed and he walked over laughing, holding the hands of Zhao Yi and Zhang Sui with his left and right hands, inviting them to chat. Zhang Sui was somewhat flattered. In the past, he didn't have the qualifications to talk to big shots like Yan Hu. Now that he's back, he can brag with the neighboring old Su for a few years. By the way, Xiaoyi, who is this elf? Yan Hu couldn't help but look at Duolong Baruto, who followed Zhao Yi with a friendly face. He had never seen such an experience before. Director Yan, this is Duolong Baruto, the quasi-god of the Dragon and Ghost series, and can be said to be the strongest quasi-god. Zhao Yi gently said that he naturally knew Yan Hu and had seen him many times on TV. But what he said made everyone present couldn't help but widen their eyes. Duolong. Duolong Qi. Do Duolongqi still have an evolutionary type? A few shocking low cries came from the crowd. In this world, no evolutionary form of Duolongqi has been discovered. The reason is that the required level is too high. Duolong Qi needs level 60 to evolve into Duolong Baruto, which is the peak of the quasi-heavenly king. Who would cultivate a Pokémon with a race value of only 400 and not outstanding in all aspects to that level. There are also 3 dragons with a similar fate to Duolong Baruto, and the 3 dragons are even more miserable because the 2-headed tyrannosaurs need level 64 to evolve into 3 dragons, and only a genuine heavenly king can evolve. Who can withstand the early days of entering the heavenly king? Chapter 8. The Ritual of Sealing the King. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Duolong Qi needs level 60 to evolve into Duolong Baruto and complete its transformation. Zhao Yi smiled and explained, but did not mention the 3 evil dragons. After all, there was no material in hand, and he had not even seen this series of Pokémon. This could not be explained, and it would not be too late to talk about it again when there were samples in the future. Hiss. Someone took a cold breath, and then they understood why they had not discovered the evolutionary form of Duolongqi. Yan Hu stopped and glanced around with a pair of tiger eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want you to spread this matter. Just keep an eye on your mouth when you go back. You all understand what the current price of Duolong Messia is, and I won't say the rest. It's a great kindness from King Zhao Yi to tell us about this matter. I hope you don't forget King Zhao Yi's kindness. He just learned Zhao Yi's name from Zhang Sui's mouth. The current price of Doraemon is on the same level as Ugly Fish, and it is sold as a rare Pokémon. Ugly fish have been discovered to have evolved in this world because there are too many people, and with more people, their aesthetics naturally become more diverse, so there will be many instances of judging ugliness. And after those people bought ugly fish, it lost itself in the praises day after day, year after year. It really thought it was beautiful and directly filled its beauty, evolving into minus, and its price skyrocketed thereafter. Duolong Messia is because the unique attributes of Gigialong have hit many people's X-piece, so compared to Pokémon of the same race, there is a considerable premium. But even at any premium, it's far cheaper than the quasi-god cubs. Director Yan, please rest assured that Zhao Yi, the heavenly king of Zhao, we are not fools and naturally know what matters. Suddenly, someone began to respond and looked around on guard, afraid of any fools, revealing the matter. This is the closest they have ever been to the quasi-god, so we can't let some fools ruin their good deeds. Seeing that these people all understood what was going on, Yan Hu nodded with satisfaction and led Zhao Yi and Zhang Sui back to the Elf Bureau, his office. After pouring a cup of tea for both of them, Yan Hu rubbed his hands and sat in front of Zhao Yi, asking, Zhao Yi, can you explain what's going on? Please don't think too much, this is because every heavenly king needs to write a rough life trajectory, just give it a rough idea, don't be too detailed. This is a character introduction, used to write biographies of characters. Once he becomes the king, naturally someone will write books and biographies for him. There's nothing to hide about this, that's all. Zhao Yi smiled slightly and explained how he had managed to tame the strong biting Lu shark family. He explained his motivation as wanting to go to the Great Black Mountain for a stroll, only to encounter the round Lu shark. He now has two quasi-gods at the peak of the heavenly king, whose power is enough to crush all conspiracies and schemes. After hearing these words, Yan Hu and Zhang Suiren were both foolish, just like listening to the Book of Heaven. This is so outrageous that I feel it's true. At this moment, Yan Hu's face towards Zhao Yi was almost filled with envy. What kind of luck did this bring? I feel like your biography will definitely go crazy. After a long time, Yan Hu finally sighed. It was so legendary, it was like listening to a book. Alright, Zhao Yi, I have already conveyed your message. Your coronation ceremony will be held in 3 days' time at Xinghai Square, and I will have someone pick you up then. After a while, Yan Hu passed on Zhao Yi's message and stood up to speak to him. However, after speaking, his face showed a hesitant expression. Director Yan, if you have anything, just let me know. Zhao Yi smiled and asked, he never thought before that you could see such an expression on the face of a big shot like Yan Hu. As expected, when you succeed, you are surrounded by good people. It's not a big deal. Just Zhao Yi, can you stay in Liaodong province to guard after the coronation ceremony? Nowadays, there is not enough for one heavenly king in each province. After Zhao Yifeng was appointed as the king, he must find a place to guard it. However, as a border area, Liaodong province already has a heavenly king, but that heavenly king is from another place, and those from other places are definitely not as good as those from the local area. If the Earth Heavenly King is willing and conditions permit, of course I have no problem. Zhao Yi didn't say enough, just expressed his attitude. Upon hearing these words, Yan Hu's spirit was lifted and his whole body became excited. After bidding farewell to Yan Hu and Zhang Sui, Zhao Yi returned to his own home and collapsed directly on the bed. The house is too small. Go ask old Yan tomorrow. Lying in bed, 4 Pokémon balls were placed next to the pillow. Zhao Yi leaned on his arm and looked at the ceiling, unable to suppress his smile. It's really like a dream. After a while, he didn't know when he had fallen asleep. When he opened his eyes again, it was already daylight outside. Quickly turning his head, for elf balls were placed around, and everything that happened yesterday was not a dream. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. There was nothing else to do when I woke up early in the morning. I covered my face and laughed wildly for a while, my hair twitching. After finally calming down, I woke up to wash up and then clicked on the system panel. Claim today's daily opportunities. In my heart, I silently recited, and in the next moment, a green light appeared before my eyes. Green. Zhao Yi became interested and could draw white or green opportunities every day. This was his first time encountering green opportunities. Chance, green. At 8 p.m. tonight, the entrance to the secret realm of the abandoned building on the east side opened, and Zhang Yuan accidentally entered it. He obtained the planting method of white vanilla and 3,000 seeds of white vanilla. Zhao Yi suddenly came to his senses. The abandoned building on the east side was the place where he obtained the bird power seed, but he didn't expect it to be an unopened secret realm. It only appeared for the first time today. The secret realm is a fragment of the elf world, containing various treasures such as elf ball manufacturing technology, elf props, and treasures of elves. White vanilla. By the way, the function of this thing is that when the elf's ability is reduced, it will return to its previous state and can only be used once. For example, after using a meteor swarm, the fierce land shark special attack will decrease by 2 levels, and after eating white vanilla, it will be exempt from this attribute decrease. Consumable elf props, they can be passed down. Zhao Yi's eyes lit up, and if a family had obtained this planting technique, they could have risen directly. But at 8 o'clock in the evening, don't worry, go eat first. Speaking, Zhao Yi picked up his phone, brought 4 Pokémon balls, and went out. Master, go here. Click on the navigation, search for the elf buffet, then stop a taxi and show the address to the driver before saying. Chapter 9. Does someone proactively send money? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The nearest elf buffet restaurant to Zhao Yi's house was on an open space. Because most of the people who go to eat elf buffets are those huge elves, which cannot be accommodated indoors. I'm almost curled up together while eating, how can I eat well? Hello, how many elves? The shop assistant in the small house at the entrance stopped Zhao Yi, showing a faint smile. 4 elves, 1 person. The clerk nodded and issued a ticket, handing it to Zhao Yi. The total is 4,500 yuan. Please pay at the front. 1,000 elves, 500 are him. Fortunately, he won 30,000 yuan in yesterday's white chance, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to afford to eat. After paying at the front toll booth, Zhao Yi arrived at his position under the guidance of the salesperson. A huge stove with a bit of ruggedness. This is where the various attributes of food are stored, and now customers can release your Pokémon. Handing a map to Zhao Yi, the clerk smiled and said, standing beside him without leaving. He needs to confirm that Zhao Yi's number of elves is indeed 4. Okay, please take a few steps back first. The shop assistant nodded and immediately obediently took a few steps back. The disobedient had already been injured. After all, some elves can occupy a lot of space just by being released. Zhao Yi threw several Pokémon balls one by one, and the first one to be released was the round land shark. Roar! Trainer, you didn't release me yesterday. As soon as he was released, this little guy jumped up in front of Zhao Yi and said to him with 2 short hands pinching his waist in a puffy voice. My fault, my fault. I was too tired when I came back yesterday and forgot. Next time, this kind of thing will never happen again. Zhao Yi smiled and picked up the round land shark to apologize. At the same time, at the moment of seeing the round land shark, the eyes of the diners and shop assistants around changed. That's a round land shark. Quasi-divine offspring. If I get it and resell it, I will have no worries about food and clothing for my whole life. Many people looked inexplicably, exchanged glances with their companions, stood up calmly, and walked towards Zhao Yi. But soon, they sat back and their faces showed bright smiles again. Because two behemoths appeared next to Zhao Yi. Duolong Baruto and Lai Bite Land Shark. Although they don't know what kind of elf Duolong Baruto is, they know the fierce biting land shark. When faced with young quasi-god cubs, they can still be cautious, but when faced with adult quasi-god like Lai Bite Land Shark, it's better to forget about it. Their small bodies cannot withstand Lai Bite Land Shark's one dragon claw. Madam, come with me to get the meat. You wait here. Zhao Yi stood up with a smile and followed the fiercely biting land shark towards the direction of carnivorous food. At this moment, the shop assistant has come to his senses. Normally, he should have started lighting the fire now, but under the gaze of Duolong Baruto, he dare not move at all and can only stand in place without tears, hoping that Zhao Yi will come back soon. Duolong Baruto brought him a sense of oppression far beyond all the elves he had ever seen, and even the boss's elite-level Tyrannosaurus Rex could not be compared. Madam, what kind of meat would you like to eat? Arriving at the meat area and watching the whole slaughtered pigs and sheep being hung up, Zhao Yi chuckled to himself, saying that these $1,000 are really worth it. Is this a pig? Biting the land shark fiercely, he looked at the whole pig in front of him and asked in confusion. She has eaten pigs, but she has never eaten such pigs. Yes, are you coming? Biting the land shark, he nodded and then picked the whole pig off it, putting it on his shoulder. This one has gone straight back to its original cost. Zhao Yi chuckled lightly and said, but did not immediately go back. Instead, he took the fierce biting land shark to the iron material area. Uncle Snake's food hasn't been taken yet. For that big rock snake. Biting the land shark fiercely, I couldn't help but ask. Yes, I want Snake Uncle to evolve into a big steel snake, so let him eat some iron blocks to adapt first. The iron material area is neatly arranged with iron ingots of various chest sizes, all of which are of good quality. After all, iron is a cheap item, and it is bought by ton. 2 yuan is enough, please, madam. Zhao Yi pointed to 2 iron ingots and said. Well, I got it. Carrying the pig on his shoulder in a different position, he fiercely bit the land shark and reached out his other hand to easily pick up 2 iron ingots. The two of them then walked back. Along the way, the fierce biting of Lu Shark caught the eye, and many people simply picked up their phones to start filming. Zhao Yi can now almost think of what tomorrow's headline is. The strong bite of the land shark and Duolong Baruto during this meal were in a good mood. After all, there were people waiting for the meal, specially baked and delivered to their mouths. They had never tried these days before. They were quite satisfied with the way they looked at Zhao Yi. Just as they were about to leave after finishing their meal, they were suddenly stopped by the shop assistant. Hello, Zhao Yitian, may I ask if you have time? Our boss would like to see you once. The shop assistant lowered his head respectfully and couldn't help but secretly look up at Zhao Yi. After confirming that Zhao Yi was really young, not young, his heart suddenly became sour. Is this person in the same grade as his younger brother already the king of heaven? He couldn't help but feel angry when he thought of his younger brother, who was always proud of his achievements. Sure enough, let's go back and repair him. Your boss. Okay, I happen to have time, so I can go and take a look. Zhao Yi smiled and said that this was exactly his goal. He came out so boldly just to get to know people. If he doesn't know those long-standing wealthy businessmen, how could he afford to raise elves? I only had 4,500 yuan for this meal today, so I still managed to make ends meet. If it weren't for the buffet, I would have spent more. Ordinary food can only satisfy the appetite of elves and is not very useful for increasing their strength. If you want to make the strength of the round land shark stronger, you need to eat more energy-rich things. Okay, our boss is inside. Zhao Yi, please follow me. Speaking, the clerk led Zhao Yi into an office. There is a burly man sitting in the office, like a brown bear. And as soon as the man saw Zhao Yi, he immediately stood up and approached him with a smile on his face. He waved his hand to the clerk and signaled for him to go down. Zhao Yi, please take a seat. My name is Su Shan. Yesterday, I admired Zhao Yi's style on the city wall. Speaking, Su Shan handed a bank card to Zhao Yi. Before Zhao Yi could explain, he immediately spoke up. Zhao Yi Wang, please accept it. Thanks to your advice yesterday, I was able to buy a duolong messia at a low price. It's a quasi-divine cub, and this is just a drop in the bucket compared to your kindness to me, Zhao Yi Wang. Upon hearing these words, Zhao Yi smiled slightly and accepted the bank card. Chapter 10. Missing the former. Then let me start. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Zhao Yi accepting his bank card, Su Shan's face was filled with excitement. Giving gifts is not a simple task. Giving gifts also requires finding the door. Many people cannot find the door to give gifts, and even if they want to give them, they cannot give them. Since Mr. Su said that, I won't shirk it. Is there anything else? Zhao Yi asked with a light smile. It's okay, where is Zhao Yi going next? I'll drive you. At this moment, Su Shan was so happy that he was about to fly. As a small elite trainer, he even climbed up the high branch of the Heavenly King. Okay, just send me here and I'll train the elves there. Zhao Yi did not refuse. As for human relationships, that's it. If you come and go, our relationship will deepen. Okay, please follow me. Quickly picked up Zhao Yi in his car, and Su Shan drove swiftly to the abandoned building. When they arrived at the abandoned building, Su Shan didn't say a word and left a phone number for Zhao Yi. He told Zhao Yi that it was over and asked him to come and pick it up. On the empty ground, Zhao Yi threw 4 Pokémon balls. Madam, have you formulated the training plan for the round land shark? Zhao Yi grabbed the round land shark running around, held it in his arms, and asked with a smile. Training plan. But at this point, whether it was biting the land shark or duolong Boruto, they were all dumbfounded. They never thought about it at all. The Pokémon in the wild only need to do one thing to become stronger, and that is to fight. Endless battles. They are both strong warriors who have survived countless battles and emerged, ready to let the round land shark do the same. But Zhao Yi's sentence directly hit their thinking blind spot. They never thought about training plans before. Yes, the training plan. Since you haven't prepared it yet, I'll prepare it. Speaking, Zhao Yi let go of his waveguide and covered the entire body of the round land shark. I don't know if the waveguide seed is powerful or if his own waveguide is already strong, which makes his waveguide exceptionally strong as soon as it awakens, even able to use wave missiles. Leopold is unable to use waveguide bombs, it needs to evolve into Lucario before it can be used. After these 2 days of development, he further explored the ability of waveguides and learned a new performance. That's communicating with the body. Surrounded by a waveguide, the attributes of various parts of the body of the round land shark were presented before his eyes. The lower limb strength of the round land shark is much worse than that of the upper limb, and it needs to focus on exercising lower limb strength. In addition, its ground-type strength is too much higher than the dragon-type strength, which is not a good thing. It is necessary to learn the dragon breath as soon as possible to neutralize it. Zhao Yi stroked the head of the round land shark and spoke to the fiercely biting land shark and duolong Boruto. Training this thing is the same as practicing martial arts. It emphasizes practicing 3 parts and eating 7 parts. You can use elf biscuits to eat this aspect. Although eating too much doesn't make you feel much alive, the energy inside is indeed quite abundant. Is it really fake? Zhao Yi's words successfully intimidated the fierce biting land shark and Duolong Baruto. They looked at the round land shark with a hint of doubt in their eyes. This is just one use of a waveguide. Come on, the round land shark, use the quicksand hell under its own feet, and then break free when the quicksand reaches half of its body, back and forth. This is Zhao Yi's first time giving instructions to the round land shark, who happily played with sand on the ground. Seeing that the round land shark had already been trained over there, Zhao Yi then looked at the fierce biting land shark. Madam, can I help you? At this point, the fierce biting land shark's attitude towards Zhao Yi had improved significantly due to the round land shark, so he nodded. Teach Snake Uncle a few skills. They are all ground-type elves, and the skill pools of the fierce biting land shark and the giant rock snake are mostly imaginative. For example, skills such as digging holes, stomping heavily, dragon wave, and iron head can be learned by both parties. Okay. Biting the land shark fiercely, he nodded and pulled the large rock snake to the open space on the other side for teaching, without disturbing the training of the round land shark. And Duolong Baruto had nothing to do, so he simply lay down next to Zhao Yi and chatted aimlessly, one by one. What's going on with those two Doraemon Messia on your head? Are your cubs? Zhao Yi curiously looked at Duolong Messia on Duolong Baruto's head. Every time Duolong Baruto spoke, these two little guys would also follow along, which was quite interesting. No, I'm a male. How could there be a cub from Doraemon Messia? This is the offspring I split into. Doraemon took so long to evolve into Doraemon Baruto, and that's why they need to accumulate more energy to split into offspring. After splitting into two offspring, they can evolve. Similar to us are also the Mega Gold monsters, which need to split into four to evolve into Mega Gold monsters. Zhao Yi suddenly realized that no wonder there were shining giant golden monsters. If according to the description in the guidebook, the giant golden monster needs 4 iron dumbbells to fuse in order to evolve, then it is impossible to synthesize a shining giant golden monster. The number of iron dumbbells is simply not enough to support the appearance of 4 flashes. Just as one person and one dragon were chatting, time kept passing by. It was about 4 p.m. in the afternoon when the movements of the round land shark suddenly stopped. Tired. Zhao Yi looked at Yuan Lusha and asked a question. It should be that when we were at home before, her mother and I were too used to her and didn't let her suffer at all. Now that we're tired, it's about the same. Duolong Baruto spoke faintly, while standing up to catch the round land shark. But the round land shark stopped for a while, shook its body, opened its big mouth casually, and spat out a blazing dragon breath. At this moment, Duolong Baruto, and the fierce biting land shark who was guiding the great rock snake to learn about rock avalanches over there all looked over, with a hint of surprise in their eyes. It seems that we all underestimate the round land shark. The round land shark is doing a great job. Zhao Yi smiled and picked up the round land shark, rubbing it against his face. At this point, the level of the round land shark has reached level 12 and has naturally learned the dragon breath skill. Surprisingly, it's really useful. Based on my and her mother's observations, she still has to wait for some time to learn dragon breath. Duolong Baruto flew over and said in surprise. Don't underestimate the waveguide. Speaking, Zhao Yi once again covered the body of the round land shark with a waveguide. After learning dragon breath, its dragon energy and ground energy have reached a ratio of 3.7, which is still too high. Next, don't use flowing sand hell and use dragon breath more. Put the round land shark on the ground, Zhao Yi said with a light smile. Roar. Trainer, keep an eye on me. I will definitely make my parents who look down on me look up to me. After speaking, the round land shark ran to the side excitedly and began to exhale its dragon breath. And Zhao Yi also pulled the tail of Duolong Baruto as a cushion and took out a notebook to write and draw on it. What are you writing? Training notes for the species of fierce biting land sharks. Zhao Yi spoke up and said. This type of training note is a secret that every trainer does not pass down, let alone the fierce biting of the land shark race. If he could find the training notes of a Heavenly King level land shark trainer, he would definitely avoid many detours. Unfortunately, Yanguo does not have a Heavenly King who fiercely bites land sharks. But it's not a big problem. He has a waveguide that can monitor the physical condition of the round land shark in real time. Since there is no former, then there is another beginning.